Have you ever needed a card in a hurry, but still want to give it your personal touch? I've got a solution for you. Let's get crafting. So to get quick cards done in a hurry, I have a quick card kit. Now my kit has some quick techniques that I can use along with everything that I need here. I have envelopes, card bases, card panels, some die cuts. This one is thank you and happy birthday. Some paper strips, because you just never know. Oop, that little guy belongs over here. Some sentiments from Ideology. Some embellishments. Whoop, Frisky Devil, as I throw everything on the floor. So I've got some embellishments. I've got some ephemera, some bows, tape runner, and some foam tape. Now, I also have this. This is nothing more than a piece of copy paper that I stamped a large happy birthday and a smaller set of happy birthdays along with the location of these stamps. So it doesn't take me but a minute to get over there to get it. I also did thinking of you, large and small. Thanks in print and script. And then get well soon. And this is where I realized I didn't have a large get well soon or feel better. So that's something I'm going to be on the lookout for. So let's take a look at how to get some cards done in a hot hurry. Okay, so for my first card, I'm going to be using this bold print background stamp. So that's my quick technique. And I'm also going to make this into a birthday card. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull out my base. And I think I grab an envelope here by mistake. I do. Yep. All right. So I had accidentally pulled out the majority of card that I cut. But here's my panel. And I'm going to use the happy birthday sentiment that's at the top. So as you can see, it is numbered and it tells me which category to find that in. So there's my stamp. Now, if you're interested in finding out about my specific organization technique, I will link that in a video up above here. I do offer a free PDF of my categories. It is newly updated for 2024. I'm in the process of changing a few things, and that's perfectly a-okay. Your craft is ever evolving, and that's how I feel about my organization as well. I just find what works for a time, and when it stops working, I change it up. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So here I'm taking out my background stamp, and I have also taken out my stamp positioner. This is a Stamparatus. It is no longer available. It has been discontinued by Stampin' Up. But there are other stamping platforms out there like a Misty. I'm going to do my background first, and I'm going to be using Distress Oxide in Lost Shadow. Now this is a super, super pale gray, and you noticed, I'm sure, that all of my cardstock is white. There's nothing stopping you in your kit of adding colored card panels as well, if that's your choice. I just find that I typically gravitate towards my white panels, so if I want to color them, I will usually color them with ink. But once again, that's not a very quick technique, and colored panels may be the way to go there. Now you've seen I have inked up my stamp. I've added just a little spritz of water, and I'm just rubbing my cardstock onto the background stamp. No stamp positioner needed for this, and I have a very, very light background for some added background noise, so to speak. Since this is such a light panel, I'm just giving it a little wave to kind of dry that ink. It doesn't stay wet for very long because I really didn't heavily ink it. But I'm going to go ahead and take out my Stamparatus. This is no longer available, I'm afraid. This was by Stampin' Up, and, well, it's been discontinued. I highly encourage a stamping platform as opposed to an acrylic block, because if you need to re-ink, well, then you can get it right on the money the second go around. Now I'm using VersaFine Clair in Warm Breeze for my sentiment. It's a beautiful, beautiful blue, and the VersaFine Clair ink tends to really stamp sentiments nicely. It's definitely my go-to. Now, after I removed the stamp from the paper, it kind of stuck there a little bit because I forgot my magnets. I realized that the bottom half birthday did not stamp very well, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more ink, reposition my paper into the stamping platform, and restamp. And that, again, is the beauty of having a stamping platform. So this is done, and I'm going to set that aside. Hey y'all, I'm Wendy from Village Card and Craft, and I want to thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me today. We have hit 9,000 subscribers, and I am over the moon about it. So thank you for continuing to support me in my YouTube channel. Those of you who have been around a while know that I am really working hard on a goal now of 10,000 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to be notified when I release a new video. It's free of charge, and I would love to have you be a part of my community. Next up, I'm going to look in my ephemera box for something to become a focal point along with my happy birthday sentiment for this particular panel. In terms of getting quick cards out, some of us really get bogged down in technique. So by doing a quick background stamp, I took care of the whole background in one fell swoop. I like this little butterfly dude. I think we're going to use him. Having ephemera that's pre-made, I can just take a peek at. I don't really need to do anything to it if I don't want to. It really depends on how quickly I need to get this card done. But this card can be done in about, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes maybe. And as long as you're really prepared, you can knock out a lot of cards. This would be a great way of getting mass cards done quickly. Say you want to make a quick gift and include a half a dozen cards. Well, you could do a couple happy birthdays, a couple thinking of yous, a couple get well soons, what have you, to create a bundle of cards to give as a gift. So this is also a really good opportunity to just use what we have and not have to spend hours in the craft room creating if we don't have hours to spend. So I'm just using my trimmer to go ahead and trim down that panel just a little bit. I honestly didn't measure. I just kind of eyeballed it, and that's not typically like me, but sometimes we're in a rush and we just need to get the job done. So I am using Bearly Arts Precision Craft Glue. It is my absolute favorite liquid glue of all time. And you're going to notice that, well, I realize I'm putting the butterfly down backwards, and I had to figure out how I was going to get him turned right side up. But there we go. And my glue gives me enough time, enough wiggle room to go ahead and allow that to happen. Now I've got my card base opened up and ready for my panel. And I'm kind of looking at it and, well, I feel like it needs something else. It needed more, I don't know, pizzazz. So I could do a couple of things. I could use a solid stamp and do some stamping on there to create some other background noise, but I decide that I'm going to go ahead and just ink up the edges instead of adding a whole nother panel. Could I have added a blue panel? Sure. Would that have been faster? Probably. But I'm kind of a stickler about colors matching. And even though I used VersaFine Clair Warm Breeze here, it is very close to Distress Oxide in Mermaid Lagoon. Because I'm going to be inking directly onto my base card, I've gone ahead and used some scrapbook.com mint tape on the back so that I don't bleed any of that ink onto the back of the card. I just want it on the edges of the front of the card, so it gives it a nice blue border. Now you can see I am really not ink blending. I'm just slapping that ink on. I just want the color. I will go over it a second time just to get it a little bit more even, but other than that, I'm just getting color on there. Now, if you don't have inks or you don't want to waste the time of inking up the edges of your base card, well, by all means, use some colored cardstock. Black would have been a nice offset for this as well. I just didn't have my black cardstock handy, so I grabbed what was close to me, and that's always inks. And because this is oxide, and oxides is a hybrid ink, there is some pigment ink in there, and it does stay wet a little longer, and I'm not taking the time to let it dry. That's why I decided to use tape runner. Tape runner is not my typical go-to, but in a pinch, I'll use it. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down to my card base, and then I still feel like I need something a little bit more. So I'm going to go for some embellishments. And in this case, I will be using some enamel dots. I have plenty of pops of color, but once again, pops of color take time to dry. I didn't want to take that time, and I've gone ahead and opted for some sticky backed embellishments from Hobby Lobby, as opposed to those first set of beads. Those don't have any glue on them, and I would have had to add glue to make them stick. So adding these white embellishments works out perfectly fine. It gives the card a little bit of definition by having a little bit of dimension. And that's it for this card. Stick with me to the end of the video because I'm going to share a special project that I've been working on just for you. Okay, this time I'm going to use a cover plate, and I've selected this one, which is brand new. I have never used it before. I've got my panel and my card base. If I can get it out of here, ready to go. This is a cover plate from Tall Mouse that I got at the Scrapbook Expo. Check it out. Now, of course, you can cut this out on colored cardstock. I'm just trying to make it easy for myself. But let's go. I've run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and it cut beautifully. I actually toyed with the idea of keeping the little squares, but they would make a cute background, but there's really nothing on them, so I opted to go ahead and toss those. But that's going to be a really pretty background. I do apologize. I did not realize that my camera was sitting the way that it is on its harness there, and I didn't realize that you could actually see the arm of where my camera sits. So I apologize, and I hope to goodness I get that fixed quickly. Now I'm going to make this a thank you card, and I'm using a pre-cut sentiment. Now I absolutely love this particular sentiment. Every single thing that I'm using today, I'm going to link in the description box below if you would like to take a look at it closer. Now, I did think that I was going to use this Simon Hurley and Spellbinders little leaf, but I decided against it in the long run. So an option to make this card even faster would have been to add some double-sided adhesive sheets to my card panel, and that way I could have just peeled it and made it like a sticker and slapped that onto my card panel. But I opted to use my favorite Bearly Arts Precision Craft Glue as per the norm. And I could have done the double-sided adhesive sheets also with that really intricate thank you sentiment. So in an effort not to bore y'all, I did speed up the glue process from 30 seconds down to about 8 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that panel onto my card base. And there's a lot you could have done with this. You could have tripled up the panels, the lattice panels, and made that even more dimensional. But remember, the object of this is to make a card quickly. So my goal was really about that 5-minute, 6-minute mark to knock a card out. And you're going to see that the thank you is very stark against that white panel, but it turns out beautifully. I keep going back for that green leaf, but yeah, just wasn't feeling it. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it with a very simple thank you. Now with a thank you card, I very typically don't include a sentiment on the inside of my card because I want to write a personal note of thanks on the inside in my own handwriting. But that's entirely up to you. If you have a great sentiment for the inside of your thank you cards, go for it. Now I let that dry for a few minutes, and here's my finished thank you card. My third quick card, I'm going to be using an embossing folder. And for this one, I am going to be using Spellbinder's detailed embossing folder in Floral. And I really, really enjoy this particular embossing folder and find that I use it an awful lot. And it is really economical in price because it's not a big 6x8. It's a 4¼ by 5½ inch embossing folder, and it's not 3D. But look at the beauty that it comes, that it makes the paper. It's just beautiful. Now, another quick way to get a card complete is to have pre-made sentiments, and this is one of mine that I have available as a digital download in my digital storefront. And I did cut this one out with a stitch die, and it says, may peace find your heart in this time of sorrow. And I think that that's just beautiful, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this panel down just a tiny bit with my paper trimmer. I wanted a little tiny white border, and I'm not really adding much dimension to this card. This one comes together really, really quickly. Now, honestly, I didn't really measure. I'm just taking a sliver, if that's a measurement, okay? I'm taking a sliver off of each side of the card panel. And there I'm going to be able to create my little border, which is perfect. I'm going to add my sentiment. And now I know that I want something else added to give it just a little bit of color. And I'm going to go ahead and take out my ephemera box and check out what I can find in here. So I have this piece of ephemera that's an empty bird cage that I thought would go really well for a sympathy card. It kind of is symbolic of loss in my line of thinking. But it wasn't quite what I wanted because it was a little larger scale than what I was looking for. So I'm just going to thumb through again and see if I can find something smaller. Didn't like the pink. Yeah. Keep searching. You'll find something, Wendy. Now, I found this smaller blue floral swag, and it's kind of perfect. So I'm going to put up my ephemera box and go ahead and start finishing up this card. I'm going to put something on the inside of this. Sometimes we don't always have the words to express our sympathy for someone's loss. So I'm going to use this big thinking of you stamp. And instead of using it on the outside, I'm using it on the inside. And remember that I gave myself a cheat sheet by telling myself exactly which stamp set and what category to look in my stamp unit, and I can find it quickly. This time I'm going to go ahead and remember my magnets, and I am also going to continue to use that beautiful VersaFine Warm Breeze blue ink. So if you make yourself a quick card making kit for your emergency cards, is there something else that you would add to it? Let me know in the comments below. Pigment ink does stay wet a little longer, so I'm just going to flip it over so I don't disturb it while it dries. And I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid glue to the back of my embossed panel. I decided to go ahead and pop up the blue floral ephemera with some foam tape that I have in my kit, and then I'm going to just lay my sentiment down flat. And she's done. I think the hardest part was figuring out which piece of ephemera I wanted to use. One other thing to think about when it comes to a quick card kit could be around the winter holidays. So you get busy, you make all these Christmas cards or New Year's cards or Thanksgiving cards or whatever kind of cards you make, and you forget somebody. So you can add special ephemera that is holiday specific to your card kit so that you can whip up a quick holiday card and no one will ever be the wiser. Now, I wanted to show you what I've been working so hard on. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see it. Stay organized and never miss a special occasion with my Dates to Remember Tracker Digital Download. Many people have asked me about how to keep track of the cards that you need to make and send. So this is what I've come up with. This is available on my digital store, which I will leave linked in the description box. And I have a full sheet for each month. So it includes the day, the person's name, a potential milestone, whether or not you made the item, and if you sent it. And I purposefully left spaces on the side so you could add notes. So if you're like me and you have visual problems, printing it full page is fantastic because it gives you a wide space for you to be able to write. And I think that there are 10 lines. Here's my suggestion. If you know you have a grandchild's birthday or a child's birthday, and obviously it's always on the same, it never changes, write the day, write their name, and go ahead and leave that. Then laminate your sheet. And with a dry erase marker, not a permanent marker, but a dry erase marker, you can add the milestone. Maybe it's somebody's 25th birthday or 25th anniversary. And did you make it and did you send it? And then you could just use a little alcohol wipe it off for next year, and you've got already pre-printed for you. You just need to change whether or not you made it or sent it. So I've got one for each month. Now, let's say you don't need it this big. Well, no problem. You change your printer settings and you print 2 copies to a page. And now it's a little bit smaller. You can split it in half and do the exact same thing. Write in pen the day and the name of your recipient and go ahead and laminate that, and then you can split them in half. And you can keep one in a different room. You can give one to a sibling or a parent as a little gift for them to keep track of birthdays. And I hope that this helps you as much as it helps me, but it came out beautifully and I couldn't be happier. I've picked out some extra special videos just for you. Until next time, I'll see you real soon.